Welcome back to What Do You Know with Nick and Devin. I'm Nick.
I'm Devin.
Hey, Devin. So the Olympics are still happening. So in the spirit of the Olympics, and we talked about last week, like what our favorite sports are, but what do you think you could compete in? Like if I was like, all right, you have 4 years.
Shit.
And then you have to go and compete in the Olympics.
Oh, I have 4 years to train?
Yeah, I'll give you 4 years to train.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I thought it was
want both
right now.
Okay, let's say you had to go and like substitute in for someone this year. But then does that change if you have 4 years to train?
Absolutely.
1,000%. Okay, who are you? What event are you subbing in for?
Jeez. None of the water games. I'm not a good swimmer. Like I watched a little bit of water polo this morning. I was like, damn, I could like treading water exhausts me.
And that's all they're doing for like an hour. Yeah.
They were like having a whole like prep talk, like arms around each other in the water treading. And they were like, we're gonna do this, like go team. And I was like, fuck, like I would be drowning.
I would be drowning.
Let's see, what sport? I think it would probably be one of the shooting ones.
Okay, that's fair.
Because it's very like highly skilled, but it's not as much like physical.
Yes.
Like I don't have to like fight someone. I don't have to race someone.
Right.
You know, like I could potentially do well because I've shot a few things before in my life. Granted, not in many years, but I feel like a couple practice rounds I could be good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what would you train to compete in?
What would I train to compete in? I think I'm too old to do like any of the skateboarding or snowboarding.
Your bones don't really like work that way anymore.
Yeah. So I saw that they added field hockey. I think field hockey's been there for a while, and I don't know if that's just a women's sport or not. I was just like scrolling through and being like, oh, there's field hockey. I should watch that.
Yeah.
I think I could do hockey. I think it
like
would be
on ice hockey or field hockey.
both.
Really?
4 years training, absolutely.
Do you know how to ice skate?
I mean, not as well as a hockey player, but I think in 4 years,
you
absolutely.
could do it.
Yeah, because like I can make my way around the rink.
Sure. I love that you're like, I can't skateboard, but what I can do is fully check people's bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I would be a beefy defenseman. I'd be an enforcer.
Yeah.
I'd like beat people up, push them against the boards, fight them when they're fucking with the captain. Like, let's go.
Okay, so you would go full defense.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not fast enough to do like a breakaway and score a goal.
Sure. What about goalie?
That's terrifying.
Too much pressure. Too much pressure.
No.
Yeah,
those guys are so talented.
Little puck. puck. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I think it would take me a while to work up the courage to not flinch from like a 90-mile-per-hour hockey puck getting flown at me, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
That would take more than 4 years. So for that reason, I will be a defenseman.
I could see it.
What about you?
A substitute, I agree. It's like something like an archery or like a marksman, just because like
something that doesn't take it's a lot of training, but
Right.
you're not going toe to toe physically with
right.
someone.
Like if I had to do something physical, it would probably see something like racetrack. You know what I mean? Like, not a swimmer. Like that's not me. So like maybe that, but then training, that's hard because then you got time. You know what I mean? You can do a lot in 4 years.
Especially having an Olympic athletic trainer helping you.
Right.
Yeah.
I would love to do something track-wise, but like I just don't think... I think my body's too big for that. Like even if I was to train, I was like, I don't think I could do that. But I think...
You'd have to put on a taffy machine to stretch out yourself a little bit.
I was like, where the fuck is he going with that? I think I could do... I don't know.
Judo?
Hell
Boxing.
yeah. Oh yeah, forget about that. There's so many events
There's a lot more like physical like contact sports.
Yeah, because then just piss me off and I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm going with that. Yeah. Okay. Judo 4 years. And then you got to learn hockey in 4 years.
That's easy.
Done. Is table tennis in the...
Summer Games, yeah.
Summer Games, yeah.
Yeah, I would be that good. I'm a very casual ping pong player.
Honestly, let's play doubles at table tennis, but then we're just crushing it with like a beer in one hand, like a PBR in one hand, and then the paddle. That's the
only way I can do it.
The two boys from the Midwest. Yeah, I love it.
Handball has been a really big...
Oh, yeah.
Handball apparently is really big in Europe, which I didn't know.
Yeah, we're going to get into a little bit of handball and a very specific handball game.
Oh, no shit. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Okay, so Devin.
Yeah.
What do you know about the... Thank you for leading me into that. What do you know about the gay games?
Well... That really threw me
tell me where your mind goes.
You were like, "Oh, we're going to talk about handball." I was like, "Great! I don't know much about handball. I'm really excited to talk about handball." And then you're like, "Gay games." I was like, "Well, my mind just like the train of my brain just like crashed. There was a penny on the rail, and we have flown into the neighborhood, killing thousands."
You're like, that could be something very different now.
I don't know anything about the gay games.
Well, get excited.
So once my brain resets, I'll be there.
The gay games initially was going to be called the Gay Olympics. And then we'll get into why that didn't stick.
Probably because the Olympics are just such a hard trademarked thing.
Okay, we don't have to ruin it for the people.
Well, I think everyone does.
Improv Olympic got in trouble. A famous improv theater in Chicago.
And now called I.O.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the Olympics. We're like, no. So now they're called I.O.
No.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah. I guess that fucking done.
All right, great.
Just kidding.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Like, subscribe at WDYK _podcast.
Okay, so the gay games first started in San Francisco, 1982. So relatively newer in relation to things, right? They were started by Dr. Tom Waddell, and also credited was Brenda Young and a few others.
Okay.
So the Gay Games promotes acceptance of sexual diversity with LGBT athletes, artists, and other individuals. It promotes the spirit of inclusion and participation, as well as the pursuit of personal growth in sporting event.
Did you say artists?
Yes, and you'll see kind of why.
Okay.
We'll get there. It's a little bit more of a progressive Olympics, I would say.
Okay. Is it just like a pottery wheel competition?
Incredible. First one to make a vase wins.
Yeah, the tallest vase.
And then you're just like running it.
Yeah.
What is that called?
Into the kiln?
Kiln, yeah. It's like a javelin to the kiln. So it promotes spirit. It's hoping to create the power the Olympics has of bringing people of various different backgrounds together through an international language such as sports. So it strives to accommodate differences and achieve gender parity. Mm-hmm. So while this was accomplished, the games are open to all, regardless of sexual orientation. There are no qualifying standards. And that means there's no qualifying.
Okay.
So you just sign up. Now, you are competing against like world athletes, right?
Sure.
So like there are very professional athletes that compete in these games, but technically you can just kind of sign up and show up and participate, so long as you can like afford it and travel and do all of those things. So I'm like, I'm not saying that like 2026 is like around the corner, but like...
Is it held every 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Just... So
I can be a
couple years
a hockey player for the gay games in 4 years.
Yes, perfect. What do you call it? So while competitors are even coming from countries where homosexuality remains illegal and hidden. Yeah. So it's really just a space that people can like come together and just celebrate and be. And I think that was a reason they were like, regardless of sexual orientation, because even if you are, homosexual or something outside of kind of non-heteronormity, then you can still kind of be included, but kind of cover if you needed to.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably as well with like the folks that are coming from the countries where you have to remain in the closet for your own safety,
right?
Like, and be like, hey, I'm going to be here for my own self, kind of situation,
right?
Maybe I'm speculating.
Speculate wildly. That's what this is all about. Similar to the Olympic Games, with even beginning with the torching of the Gay Games flames for the opening ceremony.
Clever.
flames, gay games. You get it. So it's a 10-day event with an opening ceremony. So some of the things kind of included during the actual like competitions and such are the International Rainbow Memorial Run, which is a parade through the hosting city. There's the Memorial Moment to remember those who have been lost and celebrate their contribution to sports and culture.
Okay.
There is the Pink Flamingo, which is aquatic teams perform at the pool. Like they just kind of like perform different like dances, things,
tricks.
kind of, yeah, whatever you want. There's the Festival Village, which is like Olympic Village. But this contains shows, performances, workshops, and for various LGBT plus things like activism, queer sports, voguing, art exhibitions, and much more. Of course, there's medals, so anyone can participate regardless of ability or skill level. But of course, top contestants will take home a medal. Everyone does get a participation medal. And then
it's like you were at the
ceremonies.
event. Like, it's fun. Here you go.
Yeah,
you get a pin. Everyone gets pins at the Olympics.
Sure, but like, I don't know. It felt like the participation medal felt like it was like the same size as like the regular medal, and I'm just like, like you didn't win. Like that's fun.
All
like
the Olympic
inclusion.
athletes get a new Samsung phone, so like that's their participation medal.
I don't want a Samsung phone.
Well, you're gonna get one,
and you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say earlier. So I don't know if you saw this. Grindr was turned off in the Olympic Village for Paris because they wanted to like protect athletes' identities, like just in case.
Oh.
And it was like, I don't know if they'd done that before. I don't remember seeing that ever before. But I was like, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting that like that kind of has come about now, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I was kind of like saying, like with, you know, people participating from countries where, you know, homosexuality is still illegal, like this was kind of an opportunity for them to still participate in something like that, but, you know, do as they will.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah. So those are some of the events that take place during the Olympics. So it's what's fun is that it's not just about the sports. Like, yes, obviously that is the, you know, primary thing,
right.
but there's other things included.
Yeah.
Correct. There's community. And I think sometimes like that's where the artists come in sometimes. And some of those, we're going to go into the events themselves. Like you'll see some things where you're like, oh, I see why they made it say artist over athlete. So the sporting events, aquatics. So that's swimming, all the strokes, lengths, relays. There's artistic swimming. There is water polo, like synchronized.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
You're like, what the fuck? There's water polo, diving, and open water swimming. Okay. And these are divided by gender, sometimes age. There is track and field, so general track length events. What are you going to say?
Well, interesting that it would be divided by gender.
I don't know. I feel like it would be difficult.
I think it's the gender in which you identify with.
Okay.
Yes. And then I think that if there are some that don't identify with a specific gender, it might be a
flip a coin
one sort of thing. I guess it's kind of like that. I don't know the specifics of that,
Sure.
but I think it's the gender in which you identify. Because I think they were very specific by saying gender versus sex. So track and field, so general track lengths, hurdles, relays, long, high, and triple jump, pole vault, shot put, hammer throw, discus throw, javelin, decathlon, women's heptathlon, the 3,000 meter steeplechase, which includes 28 barriers and 7 water jumps.
Wow.
Have you ever heard of this? It's like a horsing event. So it's like the horses will be running, and then all of a sudden there's like basically like a big shrubbery. And then they have to jump over the shrubbery and jump over the water in front, like on the behind the shrubbery.
Yes,
so they have to like go over all of that. So same thing for people. You have to, you hurdle, you jump over the hurdle and the water. So it's
Can I
kind
dress
of like
a horse.
Sure, you do you.
All right, 4 years.
Full mask. Yeah. There is the 5K and 10K race, and then the half marathon and marathon.
Okay.
And the triathlon.
Right.
Court sports include basketball, volleyball, both beach and court, dodgeball, kopel, which is a Spanish game where mixed teams compete to hit the ball into the opponent's goal with their hands. So it's like handball, but also it's like hockey handball.
With a twist.
Yeah, it's like soccer handball.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of. I was like, interesting, weird. And then Valencian Pilota, which I think
sounds like a soup.
It's handball tennis. So it's like, have you seen this? So it's like a net, and then you're handballing, but it's kind of similar to like a tennis sort of
it's like
interaction.
Pickleball without the paddles.
Kind of. And then they're like, but the spectators are so close. So it like narrows almost the court as well. And as a spectator, you can just be like hit in the head with which is wild to me. But I was like, that can actually be kind of fun. Throwing it out there. So those are court sports. Cycling is road and mountain biking. Dance is one. So ballroom, tango, show dance, team, cheerleading, figure skating. Grass sports include rugby, baseball, cricket, golf, field hockey, soccer, softball, Quidditch.
All right, I don't know about that.
I was like, do I put it at the end? I was like, I just need his reaction to.
I don't know. I don't agree.
No, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Maybe I don't sign up for the gay games
just because Quidditch is in it. Yeah, that's funny.
I'm sorry, J.K. Rowling's a fucking turf. Like, what do you want?
That is true. But we're taking it back.
All right.
That's what I've heard. Mat sports, martial arts, wrestling, fencing, open water, rowing. I think I could do rowing. I think I could fuck the shit out of rowing.
Yeah.
That was aggressive. I apologize. But I think I could do that.
I think, going back to your first question at the top of the episode, if it not for a shooting sport, it could be rowing.
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult, right? But
all of these are difficult.
Totally.
But I think that's the one I could jump into as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
Ideally a shooting, but then I think I could do rowing. Yeah.
Solo, or would you do it with like a team?
Oh, I would need to be on the team, so they can pick up my slack.
I forget what they're called, but like where they sit up front and they like get people going, like kind of like, you know what I mean?
I could do that.
You could do that.
Just give me one little like Bluetooth speaker, and we're going. Sandstorm, all the time.
Just the full length is just Sandstorm
10-hour YouTube video.
Incredible. That's awesome. Rowing, sailing, kayak, polo.
I've heard.
Have you seen that?
That
seems intense.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's too much in the water. Like it's
I feel like I would get slapped in the face a lot.
Too many times. Anyway, then there's racket sports, so tennis, squash, badminton, table tennis, bowling.
Oh, bowling would be fun.
Esports.
They're adding that to the Olympics.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't want to take anything away from gamers.
Please don't.
Sounds a lot of hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
Concentration. Yeah. Strategy.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, like, I don't think it needs to be an Olympic event.
Correct.
I think the esports on their own are doing their fine thing.
You have world competitions. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. I just don't think everything needs to be in the Olympics. Like, it is a sport. I don't know. Okay. That's all. Okay. Like, there's a lot of physical. Anyway. Okay. And then weightlifting and bodybuilding. Yeah. Last ones. Yeah. So there's a lot to kind of choose from.
That is a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah. And my other thing is, like, and we'll kind of get into, like, the amount of participants as like we go through, but like if anyone can kind of join, I'm kind of surprised that it's not more like participated in more. But again, like it's gay,
so
that's
you
the
know
hard
why
thing.
You know exactly why.
And also I actually didn't look this up, which maybe I should have, but I don't know how much it is to enter. So that could also be something, because they do, and we'll get into a second, but they do scholarships for like underprivileged folks trying to participate. And so I don't know like if it's a decent amount for an entry fee as well.
Yeah.
Well, and then you also brought up that it changes cities. I thought it was always in San Francisco, even though you never said anything that would lead anyone else to believe that.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I could fly to San Francisco. That's fine. But like if it's travel is a little tough.
If it's international, people coming internationally,
for sure,
100%. Yeah. So the gay games are put on by the Federation of Gay Games, or FGG. And I was like, you're one letter away. And then their motto is participation, inclusion, and personal best. Their mission is to promote equity, diversity, and inclusion through sports and culture.
Yeah, okay.
Of course. I was like, we
checks all the boxes.
Right. So from the website, it says, quote, the purpose of the Federation of Gay Games, Inc., the Federation, shall be to foster and augment these the self-respect of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and all sexually fluid or gender variant individuals throughout the world, and to promote respect and understanding from others, primarily by organizing and administrating the international quadrennial sport and cultural movement known as the Gay Games. I'm not an English major, but that's a freaking run-on. Give me some sort of punctuation in there.
The thing that I picked up was the word quadrennial.
Yeah.
Never heard that word before.
Every 4 years.
Instead of like biannual.
Yeah.
Quadrennial.
Huh. Quadrennial.
I'm
whatever.
sure if I read it, I'd be like...
You'd get it. Yeah. But hearing it, you're like, what the
fuck?
I was like, oh, you don't know?
You idiot.
You idiot. Yeah, 100%. So this was, again, founded with the start of the games in 1982. Not only does it host the largest LGBTQ plus sporting event every 4 years, but it also promotes scholarships for underprivileged members hoping to compete. So that's kind of the background of the Gay Games.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to get into the games that have happened. I'm going to give you little snippets from some. The biggest... Of course, we were the most controversial. So I will talk about the Chicago ones, gets a little more in depth, and then we'll kind of like close out with some impact and stuff. So the Gay Games in host cities. So Gay Games 1 was in San Francisco in 1982. It was August 28th through September 5th. Again, like those, I'm like, you guys are picking hot day. I get it to the Summer Olympics, but Jesus. So Tina Turner and Stephanie Mills performed.
Oh.
I know. Stephanie Mills was the original Dorothy in The Wiz.
Oh.
So she was coming off of that, and she was like, I got it. It was held in Kezar Stadium. The flame, this was crazy. The flame was lit by former U.S. Olympians George Friend and Susan McGreevy after carrying the torch on a run across America, beginning in New York at Stonewall. Oh, so they ran from Stonewall to San Francisco with the torch.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts?
Oof.
And then you watch the Paris opening one, and they walk like 3 feet and then hand to the next person.
Different symbolism.
I know. I'm just saying. Original sports offered were basketball, billiards, bowling, cycling, diving, golf, marathon, physique, powerlifting, soccer, softball, swimming, tennis, track and field, volleyball, and wrestling. So I thought it was interesting that it was billiards, golf, some of those where I was like, oh, interesting. Yeah. There were 1,350 competitors and competed from 170 cities worldwide.
Okay.
So the founder, Dr. Tom Waddell, did not like the nationalism of major sporting events like the Olympics. And so he rather had participants represent their cities rather than their countries.
Okay.
Which I could kind of see. Like, if you have a country that's kind of against you, but like as a minority group, but like your city is like, well, like think of like the U.S. at the time, like you have this kind of like anti-gay kind of sentiment like throughout the nation, but then San Francisco is very gay. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of get it. I think that it's definitely switched now, but that was kind of the original reason they were like 170 cities, not countries.
Yeah. You just had to make sure you had an encyclopedia next to you. Be like, where the fuck is this city?
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And it organized outreach committees, but I thought it was cool. Organized outreach committees to attract and recruit athletes from minority groups such as people of color, women, and rural lesbian and gays, because they wanted to achieve a greater inclusion and diversity.
Okay,
so I was like, that's actually really smart. That was awesome. So medal tallies, medal ceremonies, and recording athletic records were banned as a way to be more inclusive and suppress some competitive elements. Right. It's like you are literally hosting a sporting event.
Right. You're competing.
Correct. And if I won a gold, I want to fucking sell. I'd
want that record written down. Yeah.
Like, I think things have changed now, but also I get kind of like the medal tallies, like how many did this city win? Like, I get that, but like not celebrating people who won medals because other people lost. You know, it's a
Bullshit.
game. It's a game. It's a competition. Right.
Get over it.
Correct. But that's also why they call them participants and not competitors.
Okay.
I'm just as upset as you are. I'm just saying.
I want my 3-hour, 28-minute marathon time recorded.
Right? Meow. So that was part of the first Gay Games. The Gay Games 2 was San Francisco again in 1986, and it increased to 3,500 participants, which is crazy.
Yeah.
The third was in Vancouver in 1990.
Okay.
So this is August 4th through the 11th. 7,300 athlete participants and 1,500 cultural participants. Which cultural is, I think, more so for like being able to host some of these like extracurriculars and events and things like that. And I think they also looped in some of the events into cultural as well.
Sure.
Yeah. And so cultural to support the extracurricular activities. So first games, this was the first games where Masters world records were set. 2 of them in swimming.
Oh.
So like they set world records outside.
So now they're recording the data. Oh, okay, fine.
I feel like once we like left San Francisco, they were like, okay.
Yeah, of course,
all right.
Canada goes be like, no, we're gonna fucking record it.
Correct. We don't have a lot. Okay. So the BC Place Stadium was where the ceremonies were held. 20 years later, the 2010 Winter Olympics will be held there as well, which is kind of cool. And a lot of controversy from social conservatives in Vancouver. They took out full-page ads in papers. The event was proof of a, quote, impending sodomite invasion.
Wow.
I was like, you're welcome.
Biblical.
Very biblical. And encourage residents, the conservatives encourage residents to gather and pray against the event at Empire Stadium. The government also refused to fund the event, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But that was the third Gay Games.
Okay.
So first international ones. And then the fourth was in New York in 1994, July 18th to the 25th. It coincided with the 25th anniversary of Stonewall. So their big theme was unity.
Yeah.
I was like, we get it. Sir Ian McKellen gave the closing address at Yankee Stadium.
Oh, no way.
It's like, that's pretty cool.
That's sick.
15,000 participants.
Wow.
Both athletes and cultural.
Yeah.
Greg Louganis served as the announcer and even performed a 3 meter springboard exhibition.
3 millimeter. Just a tiny microchip.
He just like stepped. So they expanded to 31 sporting events, including the addition of flag football, figure skating, and first ever internationally sanctioned women's wrestling.
Oh, I would crush flag football. That would be another event. I mean, I know that's not the Olympics, but like,
is flag you tackling flag football? No, it's like 2-hand touch, that sort of thing.
You rip a flag off the person.
Oh, and that's how they're tackled.
That's how they're tackled.
No,
Yeah.
that's no.
Yeah.
Just
but
give
I
me
would
the
still
full-
just push people down.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then take their flag.
When we would play football for gym class, it was always physical contact. It wasn't supposed to be, but boy,
It was.
yeah.
And that gym teacher didn't give a fuck. Had side bets actually going. Yeah. It's a whole ring in your school. So the fifth Gay Games were Amsterdam 1998, and medals were designed by noted Dutch designer Marcel Wanders. Gay Games 6 was Sydney 2002. They welcomed warmly by the government. Out Gay High Court Justice Michael Kirby spoke, and the games were opened by New South Wales Governor Professor Marie Bashir. Exciting.
Out gay, like they were
Like he was
just
out.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
He was out.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Sydney.
What rank is that?
They're like part of the High Court. Yeah. Amazing. So Sydney had beat out Montreal, Toronto, Long Beach /LA, and Dallas.
Wow.
Which I was like, Dallas was not ready for the 2002 Gay Games. Not ready for anything like that now. Please. Okay, so that was 5. So now here we are, Gay Game 6, Chicago, 2006. Which I don't remember this at all.
No.
And I even asked some people like last night, like I saw like family and stuff, and I was like, do you guys remember the Gay Games happening in 2006 in Chicago? And they're like, no. And I was like, that's so weird. Because it was like a prominent thing.
Yeah.
It brought in, I think
Well,
I
in
have the number.
2006, we were in like 8th grade.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know much about my worldview back then. It was pretty narrow.
No, like I understand like we wouldn't remember that, but there were
Right.
some people like a little older than us that were like, no idea. And I was
Yeah.
like, weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this was July 15th to the 22nd. They were titled the Chicago Games. I was like, took 6 or 7
why
different
didn't we
ones.
do this the whole
Yeah,
time?
my God. The slogan was "Where the world meets."
Okay.
I was like, okay, a la the World's Fair.
Yeah.
Get it? Yeah.
Right.
We have one
I like
thing
it.
we really kind of hold on to.
There's a couple things that we're known for.
Okay.
Hot dog.
There's like 4 things we're known for. So performances by Cyndi Lauper,
Oh.
Margaret Cho,
Okay.
Megan Mullally.
Cool.
And I said, if I was to describe 2006 with 3 people, that's what I would do.
Perfect.
Some big corporate sponsors. Okay. Absolute Vodka, American Airlines, United, Ernst & Young, Fleshman Hillard, Miller Brewing Company, PepsiCo, Orbitz, Logo, Sirius, ESPN, Kraft, and Walgreens.
That's a lot of sponsors. Way more than I thought so. I mean, it was
100%.
2006. It was starting to be cool to be gay.
Yeah, people were like,
You know?
okay, we
Yeah.
tolerated you in the 90s. I guess we'll
Yeah.
like kind of support you now. Yeah,
Did you say Absolute Vodka? They've always been a great supporter of the gays.
totally. And
They're always a big
so
sponsor.
bad.
Well,
I'm like, why is that what we get?
and Miller, you said.
Miller, yeah.
You know.
We appreciate that. Appreciate Miller.
Yeah.
It's Milwaukee. And as we know, as we learned from other episodes, Milwaukee, pretty progressive.
Exactly.
The HRC also offered a substantial funding. The HRC is the Human Rights Campaign.
Thank you.
Media
It was for the audience, not for me.
Oh, 100%. I got that. Media sponsorship was Chicago Sun-Times, the New York Times. I hate that you have to see the New York Times. Like, what other anyway, doesn't matter.
It's like the Ohio State.
Why can't you just say Ohio State?
Well, it's the Ohio State.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Like trademarked the Ohio State?
The Ohio State.
Horrifying.
Well,
Don't like
just
that.
letting you know.
Thank you.
I don't say it because fuck them. But
Are you Michigan through and through? What's happening here?
I don't give a shit about
Right.
any of them. Me in college didn't really go well.
You're like, Buckeyes, get out of here. ChicagoPride.com and NBC. Sure.
Okay.
Proposed venues initially were, and they used most of these, were Soldier Field, McCormick Place, Northwestern, UIC Pavilion, and Millennium Park, even though it was not completed yet.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy to think that Millennium Park was being built?
Yeah, that is kind of wild. Were they just like jumping over the construction cones as part of the races?
Correct. Yeah, it was the obstacle course. That was actually part of the steeplechase.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you call it? So all were used, and additionally, Wrigley Field was used. OPRF. Waveland Bowl and Diversity Bowl.
Hell yeah.
North Avenue Beach, Hill in Chicago, Jackson Park Golf Course, Lake Michigan, of course, and Navy Pier, and many, many more.
Yeah.
What's it? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What month was this in?
This was July.
July. I'm surprised Wrigley Field was used just because of, baseball season.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think it was just used for closing ceremonies.
Sure.
So it was just
Okay,
kind of like
okay.
a one-day event sort of
concert
situation. Yeah.
Type situation.
And so, interestingly, Crystal Lake was used for rowing. However, they initially rejected hosting due to local anti-gay opposition, but then a week later reversed the vote.
Oh, good for them.
I know.
My
I was like,
grandparents live up in Crystal Lake.
oh, hey, look at them. Now they're progressive. The controversy.
Yeah.
So Atlanta, Chicago, LA, and Montreal all put in bids to host 2006 gay games. In 2001, Montreal won the bidding.
Sure.
And the right to negotiate with FGG for licensing agreement to host the games. Montreal's selection over the U.S. location was due to guarantees of government funding,
Okay.
relative affordability of Canada,
Right.
and the U.S. had a ban at the time on HIV-positive foreign tourists.
Oh.
So
Maybe
this
2006 wasn't the best time to be gay.
well,
this was in 2001. I'm sorry, right?
This was it was selected in 2001.
Okay.
Yes. But the ban wasn't ended until 2009.
Oh.
So, and I'll get into a little bit of how that was kind of circumvented too.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama. After 2 years of negotiations, Montreal broke off talks with FGG.
Damn.
At their annual meeting in 2003, which happened to be in Chicago. So the main arguments were size of the event, size of budget. They were planning to break even. So not try to profit. They were just like, our goal is break even.
Right.
And then financial transparency.
Okay.
So FGG wanted Montreal to be able to plan for successful gay games, even if participation did not meet Montreal's optimistic 24,000 participants, doubling the amount of participants from Sydney's games.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, but if you don't meet that, we still want it to be successful. You know what I mean? And so they also feared with a weakening global economy after 9/11 and other international terrorist attacks. They were like kind of skeptical, right? And then FGG also asked for transparency into Montreal 2006 financial activities after experiencing financial problems in previous events in other cities.
Okay.
So like we need like a full like plan, transparency. We need to understand that like nothing's gonna like back out last minute, like all of those things.
Right.
And I think that just became too much for Montreal.
Yeah.
So after Montreal refused to continue talks, FGG reopened the bidding. Chicago and LA resubmitted their bids. Atlanta was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
So
it's tough to like in that short of time be like, well, let's turn this around.
Well, that's the thing is that like you only have 4 years, and they canceled 2 years into talks.
Right.
So now you have a year and a half to repropose and set up an entire gaming thing. You know what I mean? So both had originally offered well-received bids. Chicago submitted a 100-page brochure initially, which promised a, quote, celebration, a multi-ethnic spirited family reunion of sorts, end quote.
Okay.
I was like, that was the best we could do?
So is it like city officials putting this bid in, or is it a group within Chicago?
It's a group within Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That will like take on the task of doing that. I think obviously working very closely with city officials,
right?
But it's not. Yes, but it's not like city council organizing it. Yes.
Cool.
So there was an emphasis on Chicago's status as an international hub. There was a feature for 30 athletic events. They wanted to host 20,000 participants and 250,000 spectators. That's what they initially submitted. And they even wanted to dye the river rainbow.
I have so many questions. How?
That was my question. I was like, how are you going to do that?
Like the initial you could probably do, but like 30 feet away it's going to be mud.
Well, I was like, yeah, after like it sits for a minute, then it gets kind of gross. Right. Yeah, so I don't know how they were going to do that. But Chicago had a downsized budget for their second bid, put more focus on the central sports and cultural components of the game, and an emphasis on safer revenue, and proposed a more volunteer organized event.
Sure.
So they would have a year, like I said, only a year and a half to plan it. So Chicago beat LA. The federal government provided a waiver for participants traveling with HIV with the support of Mayor Richard M. Daley.
That son of a bitch.
So in 1994, for the New York Olympics, the ban was still in place, but President Bill Clinton did the same, waived the right for them to participate in the games, which I was like, we appreciate that, but also like, do we need this ban?
Right.
Correct. So it's like one of those things where it's like, I kind of get it, right? Because then others coming in, not to say that like HIV necessarily has like variants, but like there is the potential of like spread. I understand to a degree, like from like a safety medical perspective, and also like I'm glad that they just saw beyond that and were able to waive.
Well, any disease, virus, whatever that can be transferred in any way, like you don't want to bring that all into one spot.
Correct. And they're all in one village together? Yeah. What do you think is going to happen?
Right.
I think that's one of the festivities.
They didn't have beds made of cardboard back then, okay?
Also true. So Montreal still proceeded to hold an athletic and cultural event without FGG. So they said, you know what? We're still planning it, so we're just going to do our own thing.
Okay.
And this became the first edition of the World Out Games, along with its licensing body, the Gay and Lesbian International Sport Association, which still exists today. Both of those things still exist today. With limited personal and organizational resources, many participants were forced to choose between the Gay Games in Chicago and the World Out Games, since they were happening
at the same time.
They were happening a week apart.
That's so petty.
Isn't that petty? That's so fucked. So closing ceremonies in Chicago were July 22nd. Opening ceremonies in Montreal were July 29th.
Wow.
Chicago totaled 9,112 sport and cultural participants, and approximately 85% of that came from the U.S. We had 150,000 spectators. Montreal totaled 11,083 total participants, reflecting 111 countries.
Oh.
So I think a lot of international people decided to fly to Montreal. I don't know if they
planned. Yeah.
I think one, they already planned because again, you're 2 years out, you know what I mean? But also I think it could have been more welcoming in Montreal sort of thing. There might not have been the same limitations. Montreal also cheaper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that kind of sucked that pulled away from each other. You know what I mean? Now they're two separate entities and they do very well on their own, but it's like, why? You know? So I did read that some were actually enjoyed, like if they did have the financial ability to, it was kind of nice how close Montreal and Chicago were. So it wasn't like, you know, we're hosting in Sydney and then we have to fly to Montreal. Like it is right there. You could have
jumped if you could.
If you had the ability to. Yeah. So Chicago concluded with profit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we did. A first in over 20 years for the gay games. Montreal concluded with 5.3 million Canadian dollars in debt.
Oops.
Suck it.
Talk about petty.
But like, don't be an asshole. You know what I mean? Anyway, so the opening ceremonies in Chicago were presented in I just love this because I thought it was so dramatic. Presented in 4 acts. The prologue, of course.
4 acts.
There was a prologue. And then there was exclusion, oppression, expression, and ignition. And then a remix to Ignition.
Not R. Kelly.
Oh.
Yikes.
Too soon. All including multiple components and performances, of course. Blah, 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 blah. I have to read this really quick because... So, you saw the Paris opening ceremonies.
Uh-huh.
People speak, beautiful speeches, really like uplifting and like, you know, very engaging and all of those things.
Very artistic.
Correct. Mayor Daley's opening speech was, quote, "It's not like bad. It's just like,"
yeah.
So this is what he said, quote, "On behalf of all the people of Chicago, I'm delighted to welcome you to the 7th Gay Games. I want to acknowledge the co-chairs of Chicago Games, Suzanne Arnold and Sam Cody, vice co-chairs Tracy Bame and Kevin Bauer, as well as their staff and all the volunteers who have worked tirelessly to make the games a reality. I also would like to thank the Federation of Gay Games for choosing Chicago as a 2006 host city and carrying on the vision of Tom Waddell. Okay. Chicago is pleased and honored to have been selected to host this historic event, and you could not have chosen a more appropriate site." End quote. That's it.
Oh.
That's all he said.
Oh. Okay.
I was like, but like...
That was boring.
Why'd you even speak? Give it to someone else.
You just need to say thank you.
I was just like be like, this is so exciting. Like, this is really good. All these things. He was like, thank you. Peace.
Yeah. It was a very like political speech. That's all.
That took him like 2 minutes to say.
Well, look, we came out with a profit, all right? Because we didn't have to pay the mayor for this. And he's on salary.
There's one thing Daley loves. It's money.
Yeah.
So Chicago had hoped this would help them with their 2016 bid for the Summer Olympics, but that unfortunately was not successful.
No.
We did not get that.
Thankfully.
The Gay Games, now we'll just like finish it up with who's left. Then the next one, the 8th, was in Cologne in 2010. Mm-hmm. After that, it was Cleveland and Akron.
Hell yeah.
After that, it was Paris in 2018, which beat out Limerick, London, and Orlando.
Oh.
I know. And they added boxing, roller derby, and wheelchair rugby.
Oh.
Fun. That was the 10th. The 11th was both Hong Kong and Guadalajara in 2023. They were supposed to be in 2022, and then with COVID, got pushed back to 2023. And then I think with concerns kind of still happening in Asia, or like in China specifically, and Hong Kong, they kind of did two host cities.
That's tough, but okay. It was like, okay, your event's going to be in Hong Kong. This person's event is going to be over in...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of like split it up a bit. Just like Paris is doing, surfing in Tahiti.
Oh, yeah, the French Polynesia.
Yeah. So, and then over 5,000 participants attended both events in both Hong Kong and Guadalajara.
Wow.
2026 is going to be in Valencia.
Oh.
Right?
Fun.
So, and then the 2030, so the 13th is to be determined.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. So one other we related to it in the beginning, the Gay Olympics name lawsuit.
Oh, yeah.
So the Gay Games were initially intended to be called the Gay Olympics.
Right.
3 weeks before the start of the games, the lawsuit was filed.
Oh.
Correct. So FGG was sued by the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, under the U.S. Amateur Sports Act of 1978. The act gave the U.S. Olympic Committee exclusive rights to the word Olympic in the United States.
Yeah.
So defendants tried to argue that the law was capriciously applied and that if the Special Olympics were not prohibited in using Olympic, the Gay Olympics should not be either.
Oh, fair. But I think the Special Olympics are still ran as like a subcommittee of the Olympics.
I think so too, and same thing with like the Paralympics.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, yes, you're a minority group, but I think like Special Olympics and Paralympics is more minority group in like a physical capacity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you as a gay participant could compete in the regular Olympics.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I think it's more so that. But that didn't stand, and they lost. So it was ruled that FGG would have to drop Olympic from the name. Merchandise, marketing materials, and medals with the term Olympic or Olympiad had to be removed, which is a total loss of about 15 to 30,000.
Oof.
I know.
Yeah.
That's rough. The Olympics and gay games have now worked successfully together and even supported one another when lobbying to get HIV travel restrictions waived for both events. Yeah. Oh. So they also tried to do a winter event, which failed back in 1986. They tried to do it in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and like they were just logistical problems and not enough funding. So they're like, that's fine. Correct.
Yeah.
Everyone knows how to curl. So I just wanted to touch on Tom Waddell, who was the founder. So he was an American physician, decathlete, and founder of the Gay Games. A decathlon, by the way, is a 10 track and field events, which I didn't realize that it was like 5 split between 2 days. Like, you do all of it.
Oh, yeah.
I just did not realize that. I was like, that was crazy. I was like, I have to pole vault and like all of these things.
Hell yeah.
So he was adopted at the age of 15 by the Waddells, former vaudeville acrobats.
That's a title.
That really was the reason why I wanted to include a lot of biography on him. So they encouraged him to take up gymnastics. He excelled, of course, in athletics during his schooling. He was the co-captain of both the gymnastics team in Springfield College in Massachusetts, as well as competing in football. It was like we did gymnastics and football, which was like, that's a little crazy. He worked for a children's camp in 1959 where he met his first lover. Oh. A 63-year-old man.
No.
Yeah. Comfy. So, And then he participated in the civil rights movement in Selma while he was in residency at Beth El Hospital in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. He was drafted into the Army in 1966, becoming a preventive medicine doctor and paratrooper. Protested when he discovered he would be shipped to Vietnam.
Yeah.
He thought he would get a court-martial, right? He was like, I'm protesting, I'm not going to do it. And he was like, just waiting to get a court-martial.
Sure.
But instead, he was sent to train as a decathlete for the 1968 Olympics.
That's one way to get out of the draft.
Right? I was just like, what the fuck? He was like, the Army was just like, go train. And he's like, okay. So he competed in Mexico City and placed 6th amongst 33 competitors. Cool. Awesome. He injured his knee, though, in a track meet in 1972, and it ended his competitive athletic career.
Dang.
I know. After discharge from the Army, he attended Georgetown and Stanford, continuing his medical training, which I was like, damn, okay, smart. Mm-hmm. He opened a private practice in the Castro district in San Francisco. He served as a personal physician to a Saudi prince and Saudi businessman in the Middle East.
Weird.
From 74 to 81. Correct. He was the team physician for the Arabian Olympic team in 1976.
Crazy.
Correct. Employed by the City Clinic, San Francisco in 1980. They later named it after him. Very nice. Soon after injuring himself in 1972, he joins a gay bowling league in San Francisco.
Love it.
And that was kind of the impetus of the Gay Games.
Yeah.
So in 1985, Dr. Waddell was diagnosed with AIDS. He competed in the Gay Games in 1986 and even won gold in the javelin.
Oh.
I know. He passed away the following year at the age of 49. His last words were, well, this should be interesting.
Oh.
I was like, all right, that's kind of good. I'll give it to you. That was pretty good. And lastly, the Gay Games were able to educate on HIV/AIDS and support removing the stigma in the world. Waddell looked at the use of the Gay Games as a way to break the stereotypes of AIDS and with a show of athleticism. Volunteers even provided safe sex materials and condoms at events. So that is the Gay Games.
How fun.
Catch us in Valencia 2026, baby. So I thought it was really kind of cool. I just had never heard of them before. I think like I had heard like whispers of it, but never anything prominent. And so it's crazy, one, that this happened in 2006, like while we were alive and in Chicago.
Yeah, and that like we never
heard anything about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so No, I thought it was really, really engaging, really fun. I think the fun part is that like they're just there for inclusion and participation.
They're there for a good time.
It's literally just a 10-day gay event. You know what I mean? Like, yes, people are competing and all of that, but I just don't think the pressure of the Olympics is there. And they just want to like kind of just showcase athleticism against stereotypes of the queer community. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what I got for you.
No, it was a really fun story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So everyone, go watch the 2026 Valencia Gay Games, and also watch the Olympics. We'll see who wins. That's all I got. So yeah, but thank you everyone for sticking around. You can follow, subscribe at WDYK_podcast on all social media sites, and you can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts, and watch us if you want, because we're so dynamic on YouTube's. But that's all I have for you. Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye.